Hello, everyone, and welcome to Voices of the Goddess podcast, where we empower, inspire, and uplift women to become the goddesses they are meant to be. I am Julietta, the magical PT. I'm here in Fort Lauderdale, healing people's bodies on a daily basis. Oh, and Murphy's joining us today. That's so awesome. For those of you who can't see, Allison's new puppy just couldn't stay away and had to show his face. But anyway, I'm a Midwestern here living in hot South Florida. I got excited a few days ago that it was like cooler out, and then yesterday was like humid as heck again. I'm like, when is it going to be winter? I want it to be winter already. So I'm joined by my lovely, amazing co-host, Allison. Say hi to everyone.
Hey, everybody. And yes, to those who can see, Murphy felt the need to jump in my lap, and he is only 8 months old. So as we were discussing with our guest earlier, he is like a baby. He's like an infant. Apparently he needs his mother right now. So we're just going to go with it for now. My name is Allison Mancini. I'm a holistic nutritionist, and I am also originally from the Midwest, from Michigan, but I have been down here in South Florida for a very long time, more than half of my life. And, yeah, I am passionate about helping busy moms use nutrition to help take care of their families. So, yeah, that's me in a nutshell.
That's us. So we want to tell everybody about the thing that, I mean, we did it, but it was more about you doing it because I had done it before. So what did we do?
So we had a guest on here about a month ago, and she had said one of her favorite self-care practices, something she had started doing, was going in a float tank. And Julietta has been in a float tank and has told me about it, but I'm hugely claustrophobic. So I was like, yeah, that's just not going to work for me. And when we were on our interview with this guest, she challenged me. She's known me for a while. She challenged me to just go do it. You won't feel claustrophobic. It'll be amazing. So Sunday, Julietta and I went to Float 8 in Fort Lauderdale, and I did a float tank. And let me tell you, I was blown away. Like, I'm ready to go back. Like, ready to go back today.
Yay!
I know. You know what's so crazy about it is that, well, first of all, I used so most float tanks are that traditional like egg style, right? It's like a big egg that you get in and pull the door shut. And for those that are listening and don't know what a float tank is, it is basically the water is got a really high content of salt. So you float, you just don't even sink. And
you can't sink. It's impossible.
You can't sink. Yeah, no matter how hard you try. And it's dark and there's no sound. Well, you can have music, but technically no sound. So it's a whole sensory deprivation. So I was very worried about, first of all, what would I do for an hour like that? And would I be claustrophobic? But I used their cabins. So Float 8 has these cabins, and you know what it reminded me of? It reminded me like of a sauna that I would go in as a kid.
Yeah,
right?
it is kind of sauna sized. Their cabins are. So there's plenty of room to.
Yeah.
And the other thing too, like I think the first time, because I've also done hyperbaric oxygen, so, and you know about that because your son does that, and you're sealed in that chamber. Like someone has to let you out. You can't get out.
Yeah.
And so before I went the first time, I kind of had this thought like, oh, I'm going to be locked in, but you can open the door with the push of one little finger. So you're never trapped. You're never locked in. So that in itself kind of takes away the claustrophobia for me. And the cabins that they have over there are huge.
It was beautiful. The place was beautiful. It was so relaxing and spa-like and clean. And they had it all figured out, like everything you could possibly think of. They even had little floating rests for your head that you could use. And I told Julietta afterwards, it took me a good bit of time to calm myself down and stop my monkey brain from going all over the place. But once I did, it was just, I don't know, I can't really describe it. It was just very comforting and very relaxing, and I felt great afterwards.
Well, because the water is body temperature, the air is body temperature. So you get into the space where like kind of physicality ceases to exist, and it's just You're just being.
Yeah.
But the other thing, like, and I don't know if you experienced this at all, but I tend to go through like this unwinding when I go in. Like once I relax and let go, I feel like I'm spinning horizontally. I feel like I'm spinning vertically. And after a while, like all of that, like not in a dizzy sense, just like kind
I
of
get what
like
you're saying.
I'm floating in space and
Yeah.
just
Mm-hmm.
and also a lot of times like my body will physically unwind as well, where it just like floats into different positions, and then once it gets all unwound, then I just completely relax. And typically I fall asleep before it's over, so it was very restful.
Yeah, what was interesting to me was, and I think you put it a good word to it. And for those of our audience that can see, my dog is literally like holding on to me right now. So funny.
He's definitely a big baby.
He's a big baby. So it is like I wonder if that's what like zero gravity feels like, right? Because you kind of do feel like you're just, I don't know.
Floating.
Yeah, floating. It's
Well,
so,
hence the name, floating.
yeah, I know. It's so weird. Like, but it was really, really great. Like, so, oh, and this is what I wanted to say. So this is what brought us up talking about this was that, you know, I have 2 adult children. They're 25 and 22. But when my kids were little, I didn't get quiet time. It's like, there's no such thing as quiet time when you have children running around, right? If I had something like this to go to, even just like once a month, because it was an hour of quiet. There was no noise. I mean, I did keep the music on, but the music is very relaxing. It's like what you would listen to if you were in a spa or getting a massage or whatever. It just was so like, I just felt recharged from it. And I think back to when my kids were young, how nice that would have been to go to that, to get recharged. Because listen, there were times when my kids were little that I thought I was going to lose my mind. So those moms that are listening, go try a float tank. I think it will really benefit you.
I also want to know, like, how did you feel pushing through your fear of doing it?
Okay, so that was the funny part. So those of you that are listening and know Julietta well, like so I'm laying there, I'm about 15 minutes into it, and I'm kind of having a hard time. Like I can't settle myself. I can't get my arms comfortable. I just kind of feel like I'm going to jump out of my skin. And it wasn't the claustrophobia. I just couldn't relax. In my brain, I heard Julietta going, girl, you're fine. Just calm down, relax. You're good. Like I almost could envision her in the cabin next to me, laying there, like sending her energy to me, going, just chill out. So, you know what I mean? Once I like finally was able to just be like, okay, this is, and it, like when you said you could literally push the door open with your finger. Once I realized that, my panic was I wasn't going to be able to find the door, right? Because you're in pitch black. But once I realized that I could, like, there's only so many ways I could go, I'm still going to find the door, right? So I felt much better. And literally the water is like, what, 10 inches deep?
Yeah, it's super shallow. I mean, and you can't, like I said, I fall asleep in there. My friend who has the chamber at her house, she like sleeps in it for hours because like you can't, I mean, literally you would have to flip yourself over and put yourself face down to drown in it. Like you can't sink in it. You can't. No. So it's awesome. But I think it's time to bring our guest on.
Too. I know, because we could like go on about this, and we need to get her on here.
We need to bring Tiffany on.
Right. Hey, Tiffany.
Hi.
Welcome to the show, Tiffany.
Thank you so much. Listening to all of this, yeah, no, I kind of would freak out too, I think.
I'm there with you, Allison. Tiffany and bring her floating.
It's really honestly, and I am super claustrophobic. Like I'm so claustrophobic that I'm afraid to be buried in a coffin. That's how claustrophobic.
She won't even come in the elevator in my building.
No, I don't like elevators. That's how, and so if I can do this, like it's not bad at all.
Okay. All right.
But Tiffany, please introduce yourself to our audience. Tell them a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Well, hi, everyone. I feel like saying, well, I'm Florida born and raised because you guys talked about where you're from. I am from Broward County born and raised. So I'm Florida born. It's a rare thing for the most part down here. Yes. So I'm Tiffany Donor, tdonor.com. You can see behind me. I am your website fixer and your operations management for e-commerce brands. So for a website fixer, I help small businesses build websites that work for them 24/7 so they don't have to. I help them fix problems. I help them move away from old web designers that might not be helping them anymore. And I also do operations management for e-commerce brands. So I help clients build the backbone of their organization by supporting their infrastructure behind the scenes, which allows the employees and the C-level executives to focus on their work. So that's a little bit about me. I have been doing web design for 20 years. My business is 8 years old and growing, and I'm based in the Fort Lauderdale and Broward area.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We really, what do you want, Allison?
I have a question for her.
Yeah, go.
So even though you're based in Broward County, because you do web design, you do virtual, right? So I'm assuming
Yes.
you could work with anybody.
I can work with anyone, anywhere. Yes.
Got it. I figured, but
awesome. I think we should dive into the questions.
Let's do it.
All right. So Tiffany, question number 1 is, what is your superpower?
Well, my superpower is listening. I am a listener. I'm a very observant person. And so in my personal life and in my professional life, that works well for many situations where a lot of people don't pay attention to things. I pay attention to a lot of things. So for business, it's really observing what the business and the person does. And then basically I can come up with a logical strategic plan and actions for them to take to make their business work better. I'm considered the secret weapon of a lot of businesses working behind the scenes, making the business, like run smoother and helping them succeed to higher levels.
Yeah, listening is an uber important skill that so many people don't have these days. And listening. And we listen with our ears, but we also listen with our eyes and our spidey senses too. So
Yes.
Got to capture it all.
Definitely.
Awesome. All right. Our second question is one of our favorite questions because both Allison and I are bookaholics, but we want to know what is your favorite book or a book that has influenced your life?
Well, a book that I actually picked up many, many, many years ago. I was trying to figure out when I actually read this book first because it was published in 2002. And I'm like, I know I read it like a long time ago. And I've picked it up throughout the years. I've bought a few copies of it because I've lost some. So my book is The War of Art by Steven Pressfield. You can see it. And it's a book really about resistance, being an amateur versus turning pro. And as a procrastinator myself, I love the book. And it's funny because I picked it up so long ago, randomly, back in the day when you used to, go to bookstores and buy books. I picked it up back then. I'm one of those people that sees the title and sees the book cover and is like, And so I picked it up. I loved it back then. It was great. It's a very short, quick read. It's very good with if you're an artist, if you're trying to build a business, if you're trying to come up with anything, because it helps you with resistance. I wanted to read a small portion. Is that all right?
Yeah.
All right. So this is The Artist's Life. Are you a born writer? Were you put on earth to be a painter, a scientist, an apostle of peace? In the end, the question can only be answered by action. Do it or don't do it. It may help to think of it this way. If you were meant to cure cancer or write a symphony or crack cold fusion and you don't do it, you not only hurt yourself, even destroy yourself. You hurt your children. You hurt me. You hurt the planet. You shame the angels who watch over you and you spite the Almighty, who created you and only you with your unique gifts. For the sole purpose of nudging the human race 1 millimeter further along its path back to God. Creative work is not a selfish act or a bid for attention on the part of the actor. It's a gift to the world and every being in it. Don't cheat us of your contribution. Give us what you've got. So it kind of gives the book in a little bit of a nutshell. And he also has some other some other books that kind of go with this as well. There's one called Turning Pro, another one called Do the Work, and they all kind of just go together with it's, you need to do the work, get out of your way.
Sounds very much like the book we just read. Has a little bit of tie into the book we just read, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm. We did Big Magic, which is all about creativity and just doing it. And but I love too, like talking about like when you don't do it, it's not just harming yourself, but that gift that would be out there into the world. And so you're not just denying yourself, you're denying the world your gift. Exactly. And so it's definitely important to just do it.
Mm-hmm. I actually did read that book, but it's been a long time, like years ago. It's somewhere back here on this bookshelf. I probably need to reread it. And you're right, it's a very quick read. It's not hard. Mm-hmm. I didn't really realize he had the 2 other books. I would love to look into those, but it is a great book. And I think just reiterating what both of you, what you read, Tiffany, and what you said, Julietta, is that, you really are doing a disservice to others when you don't put your gifts out there and put your skills out there and do what you've been gifted to do or not. I mean, listen, creativity is something you should do for joy too, but it's for other people. Like it's kind of for both. So
yeah, I agree.
Very cool.
Great book.
All right. Question number 3 is, what is your favorite? We changed it from self-care to self-love practice.
Okay, well, I had to think about this one a little bit because, it's like, okay, what? And I came down to the one thing that a couple of years ago I put in my schedule as like a non-negotiable. It's going to happen every single month, and that's getting my nails done. As a mom, as a busy entrepreneur, as a, just busy overall, I thought it was an extravagant thing. It took time, it took money, all these different things. And I had a lot of negative talk about it because looking back, like, my parent, my mom, she's like, she never had a pedicure or a manicure. And to them, it's like, and I was like, no, I'm doing this. I decided I'm doing this for myself. I need it, for some health reasons, but I also need it to feel good. And so I actually got my nails done yesterday. They were very pretty.
Beautiful.
And so, now of course I go on a regular basis a couple times a month, but I put that in my non-negotiables, and that is my self love part. And I've heard people say like, oh, I don't have time, or, oh, it takes so long, I can't stand it. And here's the thing. I love my nail artist, my manicurist. She's great. I go there, I have fun. They laugh, they talk. It's a great time. And I found a place that I liked. It took a little while. But it is self-love for me because I make sure I do it. I feel better after I have it done. And, and I'm also building up because I want to also do like massages or facials monthly too. Like that'll be my next step. And I, of course, also I go see Julietta whenever I need her because that is definitely a self-love thing. Yes. And she makes me feel better, and she finds things that I'm like, I don't even know what's wrong with me, and she fixes them. So I always feel better after that. But I also want to add on to this though, is giving myself a break. That's one thing I learned since basically COVID, is like, we have to have time. Like if I really need to go watch Netflix, go watch Netflix. If I need to go take a walk, because sometimes you just have to stop. And it's hard for us because we think we need to go. And so, it all ties together. The break ties together with the nails too, because it's a break.
You're getting a break and your nails get beautiful. So look at that.
Exactly.
Listen, it's so funny because we just had this, Julietta and I've been going through this too with the nails. That's why we showed our nails, because I used to always get my nails done, and then I stopped because of the same negative self-talk. Like, I don't really need to spend the money on it. It's not that big of a deal. Like, I could spend money on other things that are more important. Like, I went through all of that, and then Julietta decided she was going to start getting her nails done. And then I'm like, hey, wait a minute. I need to get my nails done too. You're right. This is about, taking care of me. And yeah.
And it's like, okay, if getting your nails done isn't your thing,
Right.
like
Yeah.
you don't enjoy it, like don't do it. But if it feels good to you, I was, my whole thing came from, I would get pedicures, but I would never get manicures because I have to keep my nails really short because of the work that I do. And I wash my hands like a jillion times a day. And so the manicure never lasts. It always like chips too soon. And so, I made up all these stories like why I shouldn't.
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah.
like going and getting your nails done is such a pampering experience, and it's like, here I have these hands that do all this healing work and they pamper all these people all day, all week long. And I'm like, they deserve to be pampered too. And so I just was like, hey, I'm going to get them done. If they chip, who cares? They chip. But I'm still going to get my nails done.
Yeah.
So I think it's great.
A lot of times we have to give ourselves permission to do things. Not that they're bad or good or whatever. It's do you want to do it and give yourself permission to do it? And I started out the same way. I only did pedicures, and then after a couple of years, I started doing manicures, and now I'm like, I go every 2 weeks, and nobody's messing with my nail appointment.
I like how you said too about the fact that like if you need to go sit and veg out in front of Netflix, go do it. If you need to go for a walk, go do it. So it's interesting because today our days when we do interviews are really busy days because we both have our jobs and then we're putting in, 4 interviews back to back. And I woke up this morning and I'm like, okay, I've got this huge like get to do list. I got to get all this stuff done. And then like halfway into it, I was like, I'm just like really not feeling like I'm dragging today. And I'm like, you know what? I just need to go lay down for half an hour. I just need to recharge. I really needed a float tank, but I don't have one in my house. So I'm like, I just need to go take a half an hour because I know what the rest of the day is going to be and I know what it's going to take. And so I'm like, that's it. You know what? I'm taking this half hour. And I did. I set an alarm for a half an hour. I did what my mother, I never used to understand this. My mom would lay down on the couch and do these cat naps where I swear she never really fell asleep. She says she did. I don't think she really did, but now I understand it. You kind of fall asleep. Like you just go into that first sleep state and then you kind of bounce right back out of it, but you feel so much better. And I'm like, that's what I need. And so that's what I did today. So yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
Get it.
Good job.
Knowing when you need it.
All right.
Our final question. And this is the question that came out of us doing some research before we started this podcast, talking to the women that we anticipated would be listening to the show and what they wanted support with. And the thing that came up many, many times was accountability. Because we're all super busy women and getting all this stuff done requires accountability. So how do you create accountability in your world?
Well, I am a little OCD, a little planneraholic. So I, write all the things down. I heard Allison say that get done list, like all the things, but I also need the support from other entrepreneurs. So I have a couple of local friends who, they have businesses, they're entrepreneurs, not exactly the same as mine, but we can talk to each other and go back and be like, okay, this is what I'm going to do by this date. And then we follow up and say, okay, did you do that? How is it going? Stuff like that. So that's a great relationship. It's a good support system. I like having, it's not only you checking in, you're getting, how are you doing? You're learning about what their business is, what their goals are. And then also, as a secondary thing, I actually because of one of those friends, I actually learned about the SBDC, which is the Florida Small Business Development Center. And they have them, I think they have them like one in Miami and they have a Broward, Palm Beach County one. And I signed up for that. And the one up here is through Florida Atlantic University. And it's like free consulting and training for small and medium-sized businesses in Broward and Palm Beach. So it's a great thing. Like they're touching on things that I wasn't even, thinking about, like getting women-owned business certified and stuff like that. So that's a great tool that I just learned about.
So what was the acronym again?
SBDC.
And what does it stand for?
So it's Florida Small Business Development Center. So if you Google Small Business Development Center, I guess they're all over the place.
Okay.
But I know for sure this one is through FAU. for Broward and Palm Beach. And I know there is one in Miami too. I think that one's through FIU. I'm not sure.
That's really cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I was like, wow, why didn't I hear this before? So, you know, it's a great tool. You get someone to help you, you know, with certain things. They have different people doing different industries, and they can help you depending on what you're trying to do. So that's a great tool. Yeah.
And you said it's a free service?
It is. Yep.
Wow. That's really cool. That's huge. I have to look at that.
Yeah. I also love that you work with other women that have their own business. Like I think for people out there who have jobs, who've never owned their own business, like it's really hard for them to grasp like what it is that we do as business owners. And that's one thing. I think like the majority of my friends nowadays are people who have their own small business, and it's just it's a completely different lifestyle than, you know, working that 9 to 5 and getting your paycheck. And you're so right that you don't have to be in the same business to be able to support each other and help each other on this path. So I love that you're doing that. So yes, accountability partners work.
Yes, they do.
It's always
I pointed the right way.
So it is takeaway time. What you got, Allison?
I'm ready. So actually, it was the very first thing, your superpower, listening. So I like to think I'm getting better at listening. But one of the things that you reminded me is that so many times, just listening to what you were saying and then Julietta's response, so many times when we think we're listening, we're not really, we're getting ready. We're forming what we're going to say next, right? In our brains, we're not really listening to what they're saying. So I think for me, it's just that constant reminder to stop letting my, monkey brain go crazy while people are talking and really listen. And it is all about the senses. And you said that, Julietta, it's about using your eyes and using your spidey senses and using everything when you're listening. So I think for me, that's my big takeaway, is that it's something I'm always working on, because as a little girl, I just talked a lot. So my sisters would all say it, my entire family, yep, she was the talker of the family.
Yeah. In general, I've been the quiet one, the listener, and I'm totally okay with I love watching people that like are uncomfortable with the silence. I'm just, I can sit in silence 24/7 maybe. And when people like can't and they're like squirming, I'm like, oh, it's so funny. But anyway. My takeaway, I was going to say something else, but then I love this SBDC. Totally going to have to check that out, and especially like I'm just wondering how many of my friends that have small businesses know about this. It's definitely something to share. So thank you for bringing that to the table, Tiffany. Helpful information.
And the fact that they're well, wait, and the fact that they're not just in Florida. You said it's a national organization.
So anybody listening anywhere, check it out in your neck of the woods.
I don't know if it's national, but I know like there's one in Miami. So maybe they are. I mean, it's Florida, so I don't know if there's other states. Maybe they have different ones, but for sure there's other ones in Florida.
Okay, all right, yeah, good to know.
Very cool. So what's your takeaway, Tiffany?
Well, maybe I'll look into floating because you explained it a little more than what I thought. The same thing of it was an egg and you're in the dark and all that stuff. So it doesn't sound as bad after you've explained it.
And you actually could leave if you do the cabin, you can leave the light on and you can leave the music on. I turned the light off but left the music on. So you do what's comfortable.
Okay. All right. Well, I'll have to look into it. But I also took away this. It's a great thing you have going here with interviewing everyone and letting us all join you for your great talks. It's fun. I had fun.
That's one thing too. Another takeaway, like, I never realized how much fun this was going to be doing this.
Yeah, we realized that over the weekend. We were talking. We're like, this is actually a ton of fun. Like, that's not why we did it. We did it because we really wanted to support the women that we know. And first of all, we are learning so much from it and growing from it. And we have so much fun. These are fun days.
Yeah, I think it's great.
Totally are. So anyway, Tiffany, thank you so much for joining us. And Tiffany was like a last minute fill-in for someone who had to reschedule. So I really, really appreciate you jumping in like this. And we also want to thank our audience for listening. If you're seeing us on YouTube, those of us that are watching us, thank you for watching. And if you like what you're hearing, please subscribe, follow, like, and share with other goddesses that you know out there. If you want to be a guest on the show, go to our website, votgpodcast.com, and there's a form on there you can fill out to get on our list of future guests. So go on and fill that out. And also check out the show notes. You'll find out how to get in contact with Tiffany, Allison, or myself, and also connections, links to the amazing things that we spoke about today. So thank you, everyone, and have a magical day.
Thanks, Tiffany.
Bye. Thank you.